Paul Signac, a signature 19th century neo-impressionist pioneer, had a very pointed and personal reason for his art style. Where some just want to buck artistic conventions or mimic the works of the past, Signac, an anarcho-communist, or by most political science terms of today simply an anarchist, had a different vision. He believed that a rigorous scientific and careful system and theory around color application could change the world. He thought it was a way to inspire the common person to join arms and tear down the relatively new economic and political system of capitalism in favor of a more communal form of individualism, anarchism. In the late 1890s, Signac would begin working on a collection of paintings to expound on these ideals. And one of the most exemplary works of this period would be Demolition, the Demolition Worker. Here, Signac uses his signature neo-impressionist style, taking the rebellious nature of prior impressionists and remaking it, with a careful eye towards a scientific color theory that supposes one could trick the viewer with different colors, placed near one another, instead of mixing the pigments as had been done for so many years before. We can see this at play with the details on the Demolition, where the exposed skin tones are made up of various different colors and shades, some diametrically opposed to their neighbors, but from a distance forming a wondrous and accurate flesh tone to the eye. The shadows, where the tone muscles are formed, or the underside of the head of the pickaxe, show us the loving care and attention to detail in the piece. The eponymous worker is taking his pickaxe and going to swing it down the state and capital and modern art. And his focus is there, not us, the viewer. The propagandistic nature of the piece is not hidden. This is as blue-collar a worker as they come. If they had a collar, they are just one of likely many with their compatriot in the background. The object of their destructive desire is already cracking as foundation, a nod to the calamity and chaos of the time. The worker looms large over all, his pickaxe reaching up into the heavens and well above the regal buildings below. This piece is notable, however, in Signac's collection, in part because of how starkly political it is. But why is that? There are many possible guesses, but I would wager the biggest factor is a man named Felix Fenian. Fenian, a charismatic and effete spark plug of a man, an art critic, fellow anarchist, and friend of many neo-impressionists like Signac, would be a big player in shaping the art and times of this new French Republic. After the king, after the Emperor Napoleon and his grandson, there were new rulers, the bosses, the capitalists. Fenian saw in this era the need for the sort of violent revolution his nation had known less than 2 centuries earlier. He was a man of action, or propaganda by deed, as he would call it. He would become linked to violent action, attacks that would leave people dead, bombings that would shock the nation, all supposedly at least to advance radical change, an anarchist revolutionary, by any means necessary. Paul Signac, however, wanted a different type of revolution. A revolution, indeed. A revolution of color. And his revolution is based on his ideal of divisionism. Divisionism changed how we look at color and light by dividing those colors and lights in any piece into distinct categories that can be measured and applied carefully, scientifically even, by placing tiny paint dots just near enough to one another, such that when you step back, you can see a vivid and surprisingly accurate, yet clearly impressionistic image. You see shades and colors you might have never thought possible in a painting, because instead of mixing pigments, you're now mixing colored lights, the local with the reflected light. The reflected light with the perceived color and the perceived color with the atmospheric warmth, all represented by these tiny paint dots. One after another, together, woven to make one beautiful, harmonious whole. Those individual pieces in that harmony, Signac's anarchistic dream on the canvas.